Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Right Cut Live.
Oh, we back.
I'm Mark Cottrell.
And I'm Colin, a.k.a. Mr. Right.
Dude, I'm feeling the beat. I mean, you just keep letting it roll. I'm good with it. Play the whole time.
Yeah, I know. I just threw my phone and threw caution to the wind along with it.
Caution to the wind, yeah. Hey, man, guess what this weekend is?
What's this weekend?
What's tomorrow?
It's Valentine's Day.
It's International Women's Day.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They get chocolate and flowers and, you know.
Yeah, I didn't get you anything.
I would hope not.
Yeah, that would just be...
Because if you got me something before you got your wife something, then we're going to have a talk.
I got my family taken care of, bud. Don't worry about that.
You got your son something? Because that'd be weird too, Tom Brady.
Yeah, well, get him some chocolates. Anyway, why don't you tell the folks where they can find us?
Yes, sir. You can find us on Spotify, Podomatic, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout. Anywhere you go look, we'll pretty much be there. So go check us out. And also, we are on Patreon as well. So if you want to give us a nice little donation, go ahead and do that if you love us.
And we're also trying to get the YouTube going. We're trying to do the YouTube without video. Let me just tell you, that's a little bit more tedious than I was expecting, so hopefully we can get on the video real soon.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get on that.
Yeah, and I can't wait. There's so much that I want to do.
And if you hear slurping every once in a while, we do got coffee.
Bro, the espresso, it is kicking. I feel it. I feel like I have pre-workout in me right now.
That's what I'm talking
It's
about.
Great.
We're getting it.
I would try to stay on track, though. Real quick, a couple of shout-outs. Same as always, go see our friends at Nova Nutrition on the North Shore. Go get your loaded teas. Go get your shakes, your meal replacement shakes. Go get healthy, man. Go see them and go to see Jamie and Bubba and tell them we sent you in. You want to add anything to them? I know you shared something this week.
Yeah, they shared their little Nova Nutrition thing. I think they were actually running some type of deal. I didn't really read too much into it. It looks like they might have like some type of rewards program. But their teas, the ones they described, I haven't really looked at them, but they look really dang good. And I wish they would bring one. They don't have one in Hammond, do they? It's just in Covington?
They have others that are just like them, but it's not Nova Nutrition.
Yeah, they need to bring themselves over to Hammond.
They don't have Jamie and Bubba with others.
Yeah, fact. They need to bring themselves to Hammond.
Nothing wrong with the other ones, but it's great. I've had some of the teas and some of the shakes. They're amazing.
Yeah, from what they were describing in that little post that I shared, teas sounded pretty dang good, and the shakes did. So yeah,
try them. They taste great, and they're great for you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And go see our friends at Nolan Sports. Down in the French Quarter in Hammond or in Mall, Louisiana. Go get any of your Saints memorabilia, LSU memorabilia, and any of those other teams that you may like to.
And just to throw it out there, god dang it. Giving ourselves a shout out.
Hey.
Come to Investar Bank, Hammond, Louisiana. Maybe you want to see what we look like. Maybe you want an autograph. Maybe you just want to come look at us. I don't know. Come open up a bank account with us over at Investar Bank. You know what I'm saying? Shout out all day.
I know they pay us, but they ain't paying us to do that advertisement. But it's all good. We'll be waiting on that extra check.
Oh, heck yeah.
Somebody needs to go ahead and tell them that we just did a shout out to them. So, a couple of ideas. I'm not going to share them on here. I'll share them with you again later on and probably tomorrow. But man, for the YouTube videos, I have so many ideas now. Some of the ones that we talked about already are going to be great.
Oh, they are.
But I can't.
People
wait.
are gonna. What y'all are expecting is probably not what y'all are gonna get. It's gonna be a lot greater.
But with faces like this, you can't miss.
Got that right.
Must see TV,
buddy.
Hey,
I've been perfecting this look for 26 years.
Yeah, even when you're wrong.
Still right.
That's right. So let's jump off into some sports. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that because otherwise we'd just be two guys sitting here talking about life, and I don't think we do that.
Well, no, but podcasts do that all the time.
That is true.
It is. So
let's talk about sports. God dang it.
Well, to jump off in sports, we're going to start each week now doing.
They're bouncing.
Dude, it's espresso. And I'm feeling the beat. Can we just talk?
Oh, you had to do that once, didn't you?
Yeah, you know it. I got to throw out some. Got to flex the golden pipes every once in a while.
Yes.
But.
All right, sports.
What'd you put in this coffee, bro?
I don't know, but it's dang good. Let's talk about sports. Let me take a sip.
Well, we're going to be starting each week. We're going to do instead of around the world in 80 days, we're going to do around the sports world in 80 seconds or less. We're going to try to keep it there, but I'm going to run through this really quickly, and this is what you need to be looking for this week in sports.
Yep.
It's a great time for it because, it's quote-unquote the off season. I knew it was something I was going to forget. I was going to add some more stuff to XFL football, and I forgot to do that. Maybe when we're talking a little bit, I'll do a little research and pull it up.
Fact.
A couple things I want to do. But around the world in 80 seconds, around the sports world in 80 seconds or less. This weekend is All-Star Weekend in basketball. Myles Garrett is back from his suspension after killing, what's his name? Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
MLB, still the same thing. You still have one team that cheated better than other teams.
Drama.
There's a couple of memes on there, especially. Did I send you the one with Alex Bregman today? I know I sent it to PJ.
I think you said it to me. I don't think you sent it to me.
That one was epic. I might repeat one later on.
For sure.
The NFL Combine starts next Sunday.
How you doing?
Hey, unfortunately, we still have no news on Drew Brees' decision on retiring or staying, coming back.
How you doing?
LSU basketball seems to be back on their winning theme.
How you doing?
Zion is making his claim for Rookie of the Year.
How you doing?
And LSU baseball kicks off this weekend as well.
And how you doing?
Busy weekend. If you don't have anything to do for Valentine's Day weekend, there's plenty of sports.
Oh, there's plenty of stuff to do.
And XFL football goes for week 2.
Oh, yeah.
So, let's jump off into it, buddy.
All right, so what are we going to talk about first in this little shindig?
Oh, well, I just want to say with the All-Star Weekend, kind of like what we talked about with the Pro Bowl, man. It doesn't have the luster that it used to have.
I think the only thing I'm excited to watch pretty much every time, depending on who's in it, is the dunk contest.
I've lost interest in that a long time ago. The 3-point contest, maybe.
I think actually the last dunk contest, which included Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon, actually finally put some spark into the dunk contest because they were doing some junk that I've never seen before. I mean, jumping from the free throw line and dunking is one thing, but when you do it and do a between the legs dunk or a windmill from the free throw line, you're on another level. So they were doing some stuff. They definitely brought a spark back to the dunk contest that was well needed for a long time.
Much needed. And I didn't watch any of it. And I probably won't watch this weekend either.
I'll watch the dunk contest probably, but I'm not watching any of the rest of it.
What I probably will watch is I'll watch the celebrity basketball game.
Oh yeah, that's always fun.
If they don't have Kevin Hart on there, they just need to go ahead and shut it down.
Oh, the best player on the court.
Best player, best mouth.
You can definitely
best mouthpiece.
That's better.
Okay.
All right, mine's other places, but let's get on with that. But yeah, you could probably pick up Kevin Hart and do it like when you have your son and he's 3 years old and you pick him up to dunk a basketball. That's probably Kevin Hart if you find somebody tall enough.
At least he's funny.
That is true.
So, All-Star Weekend, you want to add any more to it?
I mean, I won't be watching much of it. I don't like watching the game itself simply because, like the Pro Bowl, we talked about it, there's no effort. It's just a bunch of players getting together and trying to do the best tricks that they can, and there's no defense involved. It's basically just 10 guys running down the court and playing offense, and that's about it.
They move out of the way, too. It's always great.
Yeah, that's usually how it works.
And I think it is. Am I mistaken that it's no longer like the East and West because they turned it into...
No, it's a draft, basically. You have 2 captains, and they pick teams. It's basically like the schoolyard all over again.
Another way for LeBron to get his name out there again.
Basically. And then also, just to share with All-Star Weekend on what I saw on Bleacher Report today was the... and I believe this was a fan-driven... if there was an All-Star one-on-one bracket, who would win?
Some of it was stupid.
So, basically, to generalize it all, LeBron would win.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. Apparently, I believe the matchups were LeBron against Brandon Ingram. LeBron would win that. James Harden against Dame. Dame would win that. Kawhi against Russ. Kawhi would win that. And Giannis against Luka. And Giannis would win. Kawhi would go against Giannis. Giannis would win that. LeBron would go against Dame. LeBron would win that, and then LeBron would win overall.
And my thoughts on
which
that,
is absolute junk.
LeBron's not beating Kawhi or Giannis.
No. Reason being is, yes, offensively, they might all be at the same level. LeBron may be a little better. I don't know. Not really anymore. But defensively, LeBron is not a on-ball defender at all.
He's great at intercepting.
He's a good off-ball defender, but as far as on-ball, he's not keeping up with Giannis or Kawhi.
No.
Not on your life. And that's the problem with LeBron. That's the problem I've always had. And people say, oh, he's defensive player of the year, or he was on all NBA defensive team or something like that. Yeah. And that's why people say Zion is a great defender, which I think he plays a little bit better on-ball defense than LeBron. But Zion's really great at intercepting passes. That's really where he excels in defense. But as far as being an on-ball defender, he's never been a great on-ball defender.
Yeah, lose your objectiveness for just a moment and watch the games with LeBron in them, and you'll notice that he plays opportunistic defense. So he'll go for the intercepting passes, and you notice the big blocks that he gets. He's cheating over for. And then, don't get me wrong, it's great defense. I'm not downing it. It's just a different style of defense.
Yeah, he's not
like man up somebody and shut.
I'm not gonna say that he's like the Giannis's, the Drew Holidays, the Kawhi Leonards. He's nothing like them.
There's
not
nobody
defensive.
that he's going to go one-on-one with in the league that he's matched up when you're looking at the matchups of the games that he's going to shut down.
Exactly, because if you notice, just kind of like James Harden and those types of players, they're never on the best player. Never.
Well, it doesn't matter if James Harden's a horrible example. James Harden, he can't even spell defense, much less play it.
I mean, LeBron's not too far off.
Yeah,
just saying.
Yeah, it's lazy basketball, but LeBron plays opportunist. My cord's all jacked up, so I can't speak right. Anyway, I'll fix that at some point. But we were talking about it earlier. Two guys that get compared to LeBron with being the greatest of all time is MJ and Kobe. These guys,
they would annihilate LeBron.
Yeah, and they literally shut down one-on-one anybody that they guarded.
They did. And people say that MJ was the best defender of all time. Some people will say that, and you can argue that. But nobody will, and I think we've talked about this before, but nobody will put Kobe up there as a great defender. But the man was just as good a defender. The only reason that he wasn't considered is because you focused so much on his offense that you never realized how good he was on defense.
He was a shutdown defender. He would shut people down.
He would.
I don't remember one time where LeBron shut somebody down.
He shut LeBron down.
Right. Yeah, in the playoffs. Disappearing in the games. But, so, moving on from basketball, because we're a football show.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett's back. Basically a 6-game suspension for trying to murder somebody on the football field.
So, let's see. You smoke a little weed, you get an 8-game suspension. You try and kill somebody with a helmet, and you get a 6-game suspension. What's wrong with that?
I like what they were talking about this morning on there. What does indefinite actually mean? Because when they gave the suspension,
it's indefinite, and then it's like, oh, he's back in the league in 6 games. They gave the same thing to Greg Williams. It was indefinite, and then he was coaching the next year. It's like, I don't think they understand what the definition of indefinite is.
I think they think it means indecisive.
It must be, because that's about all they are in the NFL is indecisive.
Listen, I don't think the guy should be thrown out of the league forever. Don't get me wrong, but the precedent that you're setting,
your boy should be out for a year at least.
A year, absolutely. I mean, and not taken away from any of the other cases, and not even compared to any other cases, but what you're legitimately saying is if the Browns would have made it to the playoffs, he would have been back for the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. That's all they did. And here's the thing: if he would have actually aimed and hit Mason Rudolph, and I understand a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, well, Mason Rudolph started it. Mason Rudolph started it."
He still didn't hit somebody else with a helmet.
Myles Garrett is a 6'5", 270-pound man that is stronger than most in the NFL. Mason Rudolph is a little scrawny quarterback that ain't going to do much.
He's a big country boy too, but at the same time,
you ain't doing it to Myles Garrett. So when somebody like Myles Garrett, you could have just taken him on with your hand. You didn't have to do much else. But to take the dude's helmet off and then try and hit him with the crown of the helmet in the head, nah, dude. You were basically, you should have been tried for attempted murder, because if he would have connected, he would have been dead. There's no guarantee.
Too, if he would have hit him and the dude busted anything, knocked his teeth out, or if he hit him and then a few minutes later he falls down, it's a huge situation.
Exactly.
Especially the way that the league goes with concussions and head injuries.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. As big as they are in concussions nowadays, and to basically give somebody about as bad of a brain injury as you can get in the game of football and only get suspended 6 games for it just blows my mind.
Blows my mind. So moving on, because I'll get a little fired up with it with the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Again, baseball, the biggest news, Mookie Betts got traded, and apparently the
Sign
Astros,
stealers.
Yeah, sign stealers are the biggest cheaters. You and I were talking about this earlier. It seems like the NFL is going into the Roger Goodell version of football. Once Roger Goodell...
You mean the MLB?
Yeah. Once Roger Goodell took over football...
It took me a second to realize what you said.
Yeah. Well, when Roger Goodell... You knew what I was saying. They understood.
I know.
Yeah. I don't mess up much. So I'm allowed it. So, but when Roger Goodell took over the NFL, immediately, and you can go back, immediately... I think his plan was at that time was, well, we got to keep noise going during the off seasons as well.
Yeah.
There wasn't much stuff going on in the off seasons that kept you captivated all the time. So I give him credit on that, as much as we don't like Goodell.
Yeah.
But there tends to be more of a scandal of some sort going on during the off seasons since Goodell's been there.
There is. It seems like every single off season there is some type of scandal.
So it seems like the MLB was a little bit lower on ratings, and it's like, you know what, we got to come up with something. We hadn't had big ratings in the off season.
Unfortunately, because right now I don't watch baseball very much. I never really have. I've been more of an NFL, NBA type of guy because I've always loved football. Obviously, you know that, but at the same time, I like playing basketball. That's my favorite sport to play, so I just ended up watching it. Never really watched baseball, but at the same time, I viewed baseball as probably... What would be the word? I know golf's like the gentleman's sport, but as far as the sport with the most sportsmanship, I would say. You never really saw any drama. It was always just good, clean fun, of course, outside of those few bound visits from the opposing batter.
Yeah, Nolan Ryan.
You know,
yeah,
David Ortiz hitting him with them uppercuts, baby.
Pedro knocking down a manager.
Yeah. But of course, outside of those small incidents, it was always just good sportsmanship all around. But I just feel like it's all like keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
You have to go and try and create some type of drama just to keep up with everything else, because NFL is all kinds of drama. The NBA is all kinds of drama now. For the most part, they're starting to, instead of it being drama within the league, they're starting to get into politics. And that's what the drama is with the NBA, is politics for some odd reason. But, I mean, you're right. Since Goodell's been in the league, you got to think about it every year. It's like you got the Saints with their scandal.
You had the lockout year.
You had the lockout. You had the Patriots with their multiple scandals each year. You had the Kaepernick deal.
Kareem Hunt, Ray Rice.
Yeah.
I mean, the list
Antonio Brown now.
The list goes on.
It's just you can name off something every single year.
Doing it now.
Yeah. It's just, like I said, keeping up with the Joneses.
Let me tell you, just to kind of give you a synopsis, because you hadn't really paid any attention to this. This is how crazy this nonsense is. Now, if you've watched baseball any part of your life, you understand that stealing signs is part of the game. Unfortunately, don't get me wrong, it's still cheating, but it's been part of the game as long as baseball's been been around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to say that somebody was stealing signs, and I understand they blah, 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 they were doing it with video, blah, blah, blah. It just means they found out the way to do it that you weren't doing it and you're mad about it.
Yeah.
My favorite team is not the Astros, so I'm not taking up for them because of that. My favorite team is the Braves, and the first baseman for the Braves, all-star Freddie Freeman, even cried because one of the pitchers is out. He's not being able to play anymore because of stuff like that, supposedly. This is the nonsense on it. Okay, when you look back at the year that the Dodgers are, as so many teams in LA, I couldn't think which LA team it was. The Dodgers in all the sports. The Dodgers are trying to say they actually passed legislation in their state, in the state of California, that they are the World Series champs from those years.
Blasphemy.
The 2017, now I can't even think. Anyway, the ALS, anyway, my mind's going blank. It's too much coffee. But that series between the Astros and the Dodgers, when you look at the stat lines, whip-de-doo if they were still in signs, you couldn't hit off their pitchers whatsoever. The 4 games that
Verlander and Keuchel were they were killing them. I mean, absolutely annihilating
them. They gave up
them.
like 2 runs in those 4 games that they
absolutely
that has
annihilating.
Nothing to do with stealing signs.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that's been absolutely ridiculous. There's a pitcher for the Dodgers during that time and you'll be interested in hearing this. Averaged 9 wins a season. He averaged 9 wins a season. So a great pitcher gets like 20 wins per season, okay?
Usually.
He averaged 9 games a season. He is now suing because during that time he got blown up by the Astros. Granted, he only had 9 wins that season. He averages 9 wins. He got blown up a lot. But he's
Do you know the name of this pitcher?
No. Who would know him?
The only Dodgers pitcher I know of is Kershaw, of course.
Man, it wasn't Kershaw. Kershaw's, yeah. But this holier than now, oh, y'all are cheaters. Get over it, man. It's just get over it and play ball.
To be honest, I think in every sport, there's been some form of cheating in a sense.
Trying to get
you're always trying to get ahead.
Upper hand and
I think in every sport there's some form of, whether you call it cheating or whatever it is, because apparently the Saints cheated with a bounty program, but
which was great because they couldn't make a tackle that year. So I don't understand how that happened.
Yeah, but everybody else doesn't do a bounty program or anything like that. But like I said, I'm pretty sure in every sport, teams in some way, shape, or form are going to find a way to get ahead. Whether
Look
you
at
call
the Patriots.
it exactly, and nobody comes back and they cheat all the time and blah blah blah, which they do, but nobody says that because they're such a great organization, they don't want to take it away from them.
Now Houston is a big market in itself because Houston's a big place, but it's not one of the big markets. It's not Chicago, it's not Los Angeles, it's not New York. So when you look at the way that sports come down on other teams, whether it's college football picking on Ole Miss, they're not picking on Alabama, they're not picking on Ohio State.
Nope.
When it's NFL, you're picking on the Saints, small market team.
Yeah.
It's not the Patriots who do stuff all the time.
Not Dallas.
It's not Dallas. It's not Chicago. Well, I mean, Chicago would actually have to win something. Sorry, Walt. But, I mean, when you look at all these things where people are getting reprimanded, it's always the quote-unquote smaller market areas. It's never the bigger market. College basketball, they're not going to do anything to Duke or North Carolina.
Never. It's always the smaller market teams.
Look who they went after. They went to the ones who've, like Arizona, who's won national championship before, but they're still not a big market team. They're not a North Carolina. They're not a Duke.
Louisville.
After LSU. Louisville has won it, but they're not a big basketball market. I mean, they are a big basketball market, don't get me wrong, but they are not.
They're not Duke or North Carolina. When you think of a basketball team in the NCAA, you think probably 3 or 4 different teams: Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky. Outside of those 3, I mean, you have those couple that are in it every couple of years. You have your Gonzaga's is in it every once in a year. Your Baylor's are kind of good every once in a while. Villanova. But, I mean, outside of that, it's your 3 main teams.
So, all that to say, man, get over it and play ball.
Fact.
Jeez. Just get over it. So, you're going to skip over the combine stuff because we can come back to the combine next week since it's next Sunday is when it starts.
Heck yes, it is.
Drew, we could kind of skip over Drew unless you want to talk about it. I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, we
don't know anything yet.
We really don't know anything. It's all just speculation right now. Is he going to come back? I mean, my man's just taking vacation right now. He's relaxing. He's with the family. He's enjoying time off. I mean, here's the deal. If he leaves, cool. If he stays, cool. I mean, it's his decision to make. But I wish, and I know he's going to be great in broadcasting, but I wish for the love of God he would come back as a quarterbacks coach.
Well, you know he's not going to be in Fox because he's not a Cowboy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're
He's
like
going to be
Cowboy.
somewhere else, but he's going to be great in broadcasting, but I hope I really think he's going to come back for one more year.
I do too.
That's my opinion. I just think he wants to go further.
I think he's going to
Whether
get
it's
one more year as a handoff year, not like handing the ball off a lot, but to hand it over to whoever's next.
Exactly. I don't think he went out like he wanted to this year.
Oh, he wants the Super Bowl.
And I know he wants a Super Bowl, but I think if he can get into the playoffs again and at least win one or two games, maybe not make it to the Super Bowl, but at least the, say, NFC Championship,
Boom.
I think he would end up retiring after that. But I don't think he went out like he wanted to this year.
I think if he would have won the Super Bowl any of the last 2 years,
Oh, yeah, he would have retired.
yeah, last 3 years.
For sure.
So LSU basketball, back on their winning ways. So they've gotten a lot of flack because of the teams they lost to. Number one was one of the teams that they lost to was Auburn, and Auburn they're ranked high, but they did lose to Vanderbilt.
Yep.
They didn't play great against Missouri. They almost lost to Missouri.
I will say it like this. If you're a big LSU basketball fan, you have heart issues.
Yes.
Because every single dang game they play, they can never win big. It's always a 2, 3, 4 point game. It's every time. I don't understand it.
Regardless if they're getting blown out or they're blowing the other team out, it comes to with the exception of when they played Alabama and Ole Miss the second time.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like we talked about before, it's just the fact of A, they don't have very good defense, and B, they have 5 forwards playing at the same time. People say, oh, Skylar Mays is such a great guard, blah, blah, blah. Cool. He's good. He ain't a point guard. We don't have a point guard, and we don't have a good big man underneath to get the rebounds and play interior defense. You lost Waters, you lost Naz Reid, and it shows because you got, like I said, 5 forwards playing all at the same time, and they all kind of have, obviously not the same skill sets, but you just don't have the defining line between a guard and a center. It's all forward play.
Yeah, and really the 3 things that's holding them up, you hit on 2 of them for me. One, there's not a true point guy. There's not a true facilitator of the game.
Yeah.
There's not a rim protector.
Yeah.
Because they really are. When you look at the sizes and the way that they play their game, they're all forwards.
Yeah.
Even Skylar Mays plays like a 2-guard / small forward.
Yeah.
But he's still a tall guy, really big guy. The other thing, too, is they've been playing with a 7-man rotation. Honestly, they've been playing with what's called a 5-man rotation. If you watch, you know basketball.
Yeah.
It's really just a 5-man rotation. And what happens is they will have lockdown defense, and they've had lockdown defense a couple times this year, quite a few times this year.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is when you're running like that and you're running as aggressive style of defense as Wade runs, these guys are getting tired. And it's not an NBA season, but it is a long season, and it's a 5-man rotation is really what it is. And these guys are just getting worn down. You can see it.
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to be in shape to play basketball. I mean, other than maybe soccer, something like that, basketball is the sport that, in America at least, takes the most shape to be in. Because you're running, I mean, usually a regular basketball game, a player plays 30 to 35 minutes. Take a small break when they get off the court, but they're running nonstop up and down the court all game long. It's just basketball. But, I mean, you need a break. And when you don't really get much of a break, you're going to tire out eventually. It doesn't matter how in shape you are. You're going to tire out, and you're going to get fatigued. And then also, unfortunately, most of the time, that ends up leading to injury as well.
Yeah. And you hope that doesn't happen. I mean, and we do have a guy coming back from injury.
Charles Manning,
and he's a good guy. He's a good role player. He's not going to be on the starting floor, but he's going to help out a lot on defense.
Yes, for sure.
So, LSU basketball, it looks like they got a chance to take first place again, get back in the first place, at least be tied with Auburn.
Yeah.
Auburn barely beat Bama, so that kind of – the bad part about it is if Vandy loses anybody, it kind of hurts.
Yeah.
But they have a chance to take first away from Kentucky and Auburn.
Which is huge.
They're a tournament team already. They just got to keep playing. And keep playing and reserve themselves for the tournament.
They do, yeah.
So next up is our boy.
My boy Zion. The true rookie of the year, Zion Williamson.
I know he's only 9 games in the season, but he's really stating his claim. And even the national media is stating his claim. But Morant was really just balling out. And he's still balling out.
I think more so, and I think both of them, I think it's Zion and Morant, and then there's a drop-off to the next. Yeah. There's really nobody else that's close.
What happened to JT Barrett?
Yeah.
What happened to him?
Do you mean RJ Barrett?
Same thing.
JT Barrett's the man that got picked up and dropped by the Saints like 42 times.
What happened to either one of them?
RJ Barrett's actually playing pretty well. He's just not playing on the same level of Zion and Ja Morant.
Well, but to be in that market and be in that team, you have to. Sorry.
They just suck so bad. They have such a bad team. It's unreal. Yeah. But people are saying, Zion doesn't deserve the Rookie of the Year simply because he's only played 9 games. He's not even going to play a full season. Look, no matter if he plays a full season or not, if he gets in, he'll get in about, I think if he plays consistently, I think they said he'll get in 37 games, if I'm not mistaken. You get 37 games in, and you're playing as consistently as he is with getting over 20 points a game, close to probably I'd say 8 or 9 rebounds a game, couple of assists, couple steals, couple blocks. Why wouldn't he be Rookie of the Year? He's averaging better stats than Ja Morant is, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he is now. Well, and here's the other thing, too. When you make a comparison from the Rookie of the Year and the amount of games played, look at Kawhi, which I love. Look at LeBron and all the games that they take off.
Yeah.
And they're still going to be considered in the MVP race.
That's the NBA nowadays.
Yeah. So,
people don't play like they used to.
Well, not only that, but, if you're going to balance it one way, you got to balance it the other way, too. That's what balance is.
Exactly. So, but the people just don't play consistently anymore. It's, I feel a little bit tired. I'm going to take a couple of games off. It's just like every other sport. There's just not as much passion anymore. It's all about the money. Yeah.
If there's passion, people like James Harden would know what defense is.
Fact.
Actually, he probably wouldn't be on the floor because he didn't play defense.
Fact.
But my vote right now, just right now, is still Morant. And I'm just I could pull the homer card and say Zion, but just I give it to the dude has been balling out all year. And so
Morant has been balling. But I will say if Zion is playing like he has been the past 9 games,
he's unstoppable.
He should be hands down Rookie of the Year because he is the most dominant. I know it's about consistency, but he is the most dominant rookie right now from the last 9 games.
Man, look what he did against Portland.
He killed them. They couldn't stop him.
Who's the big man again?
Whiteside,
man, he just.
Because here's the thing. Zion's strong enough to be put up against somebody like that, a 7-foot, 280-pound dude. But at the same time, Hassan Whiteside couldn't keep up with him because Zion was too fast for him.
He was too fast, and he was too strong.
Did you happen to see the jab step that dude put on Trevor Ariza?
Bruh.
Dude, sick play. Sick.
He was making everybody look sick the other night against Portland.
He was.
And they're a completely new team. Actually, tonight they're playing
they're playing Thunder right now.
Yeah. CP3 is making his way back for the first time as a Thunder teammate.
Not going to lie to you. If CP3 was on this team,
unstoppable.
Game over.
And look, surprisingly, the Thunder are in the playoffs. I think they have the 7th seed locked down right now.
Yeah.
We're in 9th or 10th place, and we're looking up having to fight. But all the teams that are ahead of us since Zion's been back, they've just been slapping around, man.
They have.
Memphis, Portland.
But the thing is, we're only I think 3.5 games back from 8th place.
Yeah, I think so.
So everything's kind of close. So it could all go in either direction.
Are you talking about a team who had a 13-game losing streak?
Yes, and still in contention for the playoffs.
I think they make the playoffs, honestly.
That's what I've been saying all year long.
I'm trying to pull up real quick, too, on the next thing that I just wanted to jump out.
Dude, you keep on going. What you talking about? XFL?
No, well, I could talk about XFL while I'm looking for it, but I was actually looking at the LSU baseball because they kick off this week at the box, and I was trying to see who all is playing, but I can't get it pulled up.
Oh,
And
that's
baseball
true.
is.
Who are they going to be playing this weekend?
That's what I was trying to find out, and I couldn't find it. Indiana.
Oh, that should be a good one.
It's a good series, and I think Indiana all this weekend, so that's a good one. Get to go see our boys, see if they can make a run to Omaha. I just want to say this, man. It's so hard to find. College baseball is so huge on the West Coast in California, number one, but it's so huge in the South. I don't understand why it's not covered more.
I know.
It's hard to find anything on it.
Small market.
Well, I mean, it's big all over the South, so I don't understand. And you could find more stuff on Little League baseball, World Series.
Well, the thing is, you see teams that are bigger markets in the South. Say, like you usually see a lot of Texas. You usually see a lot of Florida. It's just you get those bigger market teams, and you end up seeing those.
I know what it was on the XFL. I wanted to tell you about.
What's that?
Those coaches, boss.
Which ones?
Oh, I just go through some of them. So there was a guy who used to coach in another conference in college football and used to down SEC all the time, which saying his conference was as good, if not better, than the SEC.
Who are we talking about?
And what's funny is he got his start in SEC in coaching. Bobby Stoops.
Ah.
He's coaching there. June Jones. I don't know if you remember June Jones. He might be a little bit before your time.
No, I don't.
Some of these names you're not going to know. Some of them throw them out to you. Winston Moss. No. Tell me if you remember this name. Mark Trestman.
Sounds familiar. Where was he at?
He was in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He wasn't there long.
Yeah, okay. I remember that name.
But he went there I think he was in the Canadian Football League for a little while and got, here, you can have some more of mine.
No, I'm good.
I already had a cup before, so you have some.
Well, I had a cup, this big old cup this morning. I had a cup just now, so I'm good.
Yeah,
I shouldn't drink any more coffee.
Me either. I'll probably have trouble sleeping tonight.
Yeah.
So, real quick, I know what you're doing for Valentine's Day.
What am I doing?
Going to work.
Yeah.
That's how
most of us are.
Yeah. So, anyway, XFL, we hit up on Around the Sports World in 80 seconds and hit on all of that. So, that means we got plenty of time to talk about our next and the most important thing for this week.
Top 10
running backs
of the NFL.
Of all time.
Yes.
But before we do that, another shout out. Go see Michael and Tammy Lester at Nolan Sports. Any of the 3 locations, go hit them up. And then if you're on the North Shore, you're looking for something to eat, man, either you're looking for something to eat, you can't figure out what you want. I know you and I talk about it all the time, like, what you going to eat? And like, dude, I don't know.
That is very true.
Or if you're up there, you're like, I need to eat something but I'm trying to stick to a diet. I'm trying to, it's the new year. I'm still trying to push through. I want to last longer in March than most of the gyms do.
Nova Nutrition.
Go hit them up.
Go check them out.
So our top 10 running backs.
Who's starting this one off?
You always start.
Man.
You want to start out with some honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. Yeah, that would be good. Who's your couple honorable mentions?
I have a few honorable mentions. It's just because running back, I couldn't.
That's
add them
really
to the top 10.
That's really the position that out of every one of them, usually running backs are the one you know the best.
I mean, there's some great names that I just couldn't put on my list, and you might have some on your list.
Yeah.
Shoot, I'll go through them.
Go ahead.
Earl Campbell.
Okay.
Marion Motley.
Okay.
John Riggins.
Okay.
Larry Zonka.
Okay.
Tony Dorsett.
Yes.
Herschel Walker.
Yes.
Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
The greatest could have been. I think the second greatest could have been is Herschel Walker, because if he'd have went straight to the NFL, there's no telling what would have happened in here. LT, LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah.
The Bus, Jerome Bettis. Skittles, a.k.a. Beast Mode.
Yes.
Marshawn Lynch. Franco Harris.
Man, how many honorable mentions you got?
I'm just going through the ones that I couldn't put on the list, but it's just to show how hard it was to make the top 10 for me this time.
Yes.
Terrell, T.D. Davis, and then even Gale Sayers didn't make it on my list.
Wow.
Well, Gale Sayers is also up there with Bo Jackson for me because they're also what could have been if injuries wouldn't have riddled their career.
So I don't know if you put these ones up there, but I put and I know you don't like him very much, but I still think dude was a beast. But Curtis Martin.
Yeah, he'll never make on any of my lists. I know he's in the Hall of Fame, but he was just never one guy that stood out. You never even really realized he was in the league when he was in the league.
And this may surprise you. It may not. I don't know. I think it's actually going to surprise you a lot because I don't know why. I love him as a player, but he was never one of my favorites. I was never like, oh my God, he's so great. Even though he was statistically probably the best running back of all time.
Emmett? Yeah. He's not on your list.
He's not on my list.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm doing this more because like some people will say, oh, it's more about who's the best and you should put who's the best. It's my opinion on who I think I'm going more so who's my favorite running backs of all time and who I like the most rather than who's the best.
There's a mixture in all that in my list. And like we said last week with the quarterbacks, look, this is our list of who we think is our top 10.
Yeah, very true.
You can have your opinion on it. You could even let us know who you think is there. You can let us know that we're silly for having the ones that we have up there.
Yeah.
But this is who we believe. And this is one of those things is it could be an ongoing debate for the rest of eternity of who's the best of all time, top 10 of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we hopping into this?
We're hopping off into it, man.
All right. Number 10. My boy Earl.
Earl Campbell.
Earl Campbell in my top 10, buddy.
Earl the Pearl.
I love watching Earl. The dude was just a truck. I mean, you see all the strong bull running backs nowadays. I mean, you had them beforehand. You had your strong running backs, kind of like your John Riggins of the world, even your boy Jim Brown of the world. He was a strong running back. But just that, the one that you really just saw as a strong, just the bull that runs through and he's going to run you over. That was Earl Campbell.
Dude, two highlights. One's against the Rams where they ripped his jersey off and he still runs over everybody.
And then the best highlight of any run ever.
The goal line where it gets popped.
No.
And he still gets in.
No. The crown of the helmet to the chest.
That was the Rams game.
That was?
Yeah. They ripped his jersey off too and just pow.
They did that? All in that play?
I'm pretty sure. I'll have to watch it again.
I'll have to watch it too. I didn't think that would happen, but maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen it in a while, but that's probably my favorite running highlight of all time because I don't think I've ever seen anything like that happen before that or after that. Till this day, I don't think I've ever seen somebody do that. That was one of the most just amazing highlights I've ever seen.
You'll be happy to know that this week I don't have A and B. I just made sure I just put them all on the list.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a straight 10.
Thank you. Because you're cheating and putting 11.
My number 10 is actually Emmitt Smith. I give him credit.
Okay.
Granted, he had, at the time, the greatest offensive line.
Yes, he did.
And then at the end of his career, to break the record, he goes and picks up a bag of money to play with the Cardinals.
Yep. That's about all he did.
Listen, every one of those, if I'm not mistaken, every one of those offensive linemen are in the Hall of Fame as well.
Probably so.
Yeah,
if not all, probably at least 4 of them.
We'll have to ask PJ.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. PJ is our branch manager, big Cowboy fan. He knows his stuff.
He knows it. So that's my number 10. Some people are going to be like, why is he not even on your list, and why is he all the way down to 10? That's the reasons why. Some of these other guys you'll see too. Again,
he was just all the guys on my list stuck out to me. Mm-hmm. They popped off paper. Emmitt Smith, he was just kind of that guy. He wasn't really flashy. He didn't make the best moves. I mean, he probably had the most heart out of any running back. I will give him that. But he was just somebody that never popped off, and he never stuck out to me. He was just the guy that got it done.
Yeah. So my number 9. My number 9, I will set it up like this. It is an absolute travesty that this guy is not in the Hall of Fame. It irks me every time, especially when I see people like Curtis Martin in the Hall of Fame, and this guy is not in the Hall of Fame. He is the first ever 1,000 running back in the NFL. Without him, there's no Marshall Faulk. Without him, there's no players like that.
Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Roger Craig is my number 9, and he was borderline even higher up on the list. But, again, it's a travesty the guy's not in the Hall of Fame.
I agree wholeheartedly. If everybody else that is in the Hall of Fame now is there, I mean, you have those that set a precedent for the NFL. You had those that perfected the precedent. He set the precedent of being one of the most versatile backs in the NFL of all time, and also setting the precedent of being the versatile running back. Because before him, you didn't see versatility. You didn't see a running back that rushed for as much and received as much as he got.
Yeah.
You didn't see that.
Yeah. No, we need to move on to your number 9 because Roger Craig not being in the Hall of Fame really upsets me, and I'll get really upset.
All right. Well, number 9 for me was an honorable mention for you, and I actually will have probably a good bit of those. But Gale Sayers is my number 9.
That's understandable.
When you watch Gale Sayers,
6 inches of daylight. That's all he needs.
You just didn't. It was kind of like a Bo Jackson. You didn't see running backs like him. I mean, you first off, you didn't see running backs gallop like he did.
No.
I mean, the dude was just fast as lightning. He had a short-lived career, unfortunately. I think he played for what? I think had a 6-year career.
I think it was.
But, I mean, you give him a little bit of daylight, he was gone. Yeah. It was just, he was an amazing running back to watch.
I think he had 6 touchdowns in one game, and from different aspects. The guy was unreal.
I don't know if it was, I think it was 6. Yeah, but he was unreal running back to watch, and I wish you could have gotten more of him, but hey.
I mean, they only have like 3 highlights of him.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I know. Most of them, it's just kind of like and it's funny because when you watch him, it's almost like watching Tecmo Bowl.
Right.
Because he runs at an angle, and then he just kind of takes off. He's gone.
Now, if we do the top 10 running backs of all time on Tecmo Bowl, it's got to be Bo Jackson number 1.
Duh. The best player of all time in any football game.
The one play where you can't stop the dude. He's too fast, too strong. He's going to break every tackle. You have to have the whole team tackling.
Exactly.
Yeah, basically you had to pick the same running play.
Yeah. All right, so
who's your number 8? Right?
My number 8. Oh, and he irks me so much, and I didn't want to put him in the list, but I do think he's got to be one of the best, and I just don't think he ever got credit because they never did anything in the playoffs, which I don't blame him for. But to start it off, he is the one that started my fantasy football career and ruined it all at the same time. LaDainian Tomlinson. The year I drafted Sean Alexander after his 27 touchdown season is when LaDainian Tomlinson had his 28 touchdown season. And he went number 2. I drafted Sean Alexander number 1. So he started my fantasy football career and ruined it.
Yeah, I drafted him one year and ended up trading him for Brady, and that was the downfall of LT's career at that point. So I traded him like week 3 of the season, and then that was also the season Brady got hurt.
Yeah. But outside of that, I will definitely say LT, the dude was a beast. He really was. In his prime, I mean, he was quicker. He was faster. He runs a lot like Mark Ingram does. When you look at him, they just kind of have the same running motion, cuts and everything. He just did them a lot more efficiently than Mark Ingram did.
Yeah, he was a lot better player.
He's just did them a lot more efficiently, but watching him play and I mean, he was a great runner, but at the same time, you can swing him out for a pass. You could do a toss play, and all of a sudden he's throwing the ball too. I mean, the dude was just a great all-around running back, and That's why he's my number 8.
Yeah. My number 8 is a guy that really set the league on fire while he was there. He was a great guy. Stayed there his whole career. I'm sorry. Ended his career. He played for a division rival. But for that run and shoot offense, nonstop, not run and shoot. I guess you would call it run and shoot too, but it was more of the no-huddle offense that really took over the league at that time in the 90s. For the Buffalo Bills, Thurman Thomas.
Yeah.
Thurman Thomas, he was a beast, dude.
I can give it to you, yeah. He was.
He was one of the ones that, when you look at like Clyde at LSU and you have that spread offense and you have a guy to be able to run like he does in a spread offense, not all backs can do that.
I think spread offense is definitely the toughest to run out of because in a regular offense, you're relying as a running back on your offensive lineman, but also you have fullback and you usually have tight ends lined up to help block and help create holes for you. In a spread offense, holes can be created, but you have to kind of find your own holes and create your own ways to get yards. So it's really hard to run out of those offenses.
That's true. So my number 7 is the guy who was told that you run standing 2 straight. The guy that broke the rushing record his rookie year, and a guy that if he would have played on any kind of better teams whatsoever, probably would have been higher on the list. And if he would have played longer, he probably would have been higher on the list.
For sure.
Eric Dickerson.
Oh, yeah. Man was a beast. Arguably, some could argue that he was probably the fastest running back of all time.
Arguably.
Because, when you watched him.
Next to Bo Jackson.
Yeah, when you watched him, once he got away from you, you're not catching him. Unless you're Darryl Green, you ain't catching him, buddy.
And look, he was strong, man. So even though he ran standing straight up, you weren't tackling him easy.
Not even close. So that was your number 7.
Lucky number 7.
My number 7 is the one that set the precedent. Was Roger Craig, and in my opinion, the one that perfected the precedent in Marshall Faulk.
I'm surprised he's that low.
I know, but Marshall was just. When I played my early Madden days and NFL Street and all those games, Marshall Faulk, who was on my team every time. I was trading for him. I was picking him up, no matter what I could do. That's who it was, because the dude was just all around the man. He was undersized. He was probably coming out of college undervalued, probably told he wasn't going to do well, and then goes to one of the greatest offenses of all time and just absolutely dominates. Yeah. So I loved watching Marshall Faulk.
I did too, except for when he played against us.
Yes, because he dominated us too. So is it on to me for my number 6?
Yeah.
My number 6 is Eric Dickerson.
Hey, check it out.
Yeah. I don't know what more to say about him. We just talked a little bit about him, so that's my number 6.
That's your number 6. My number 6 is actually AP all day.
Okay.
Adrian Peterson.
Okay.
The guy in a time in the league that's not really set up for a feature back.
Yeah.
Was a feature back and excelled extremely well and did things that you just were wow.
And the thing is, it's just defenses nowadays. The players are so much faster, so much bigger, so much stronger. They're just athletically from the 80s, the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, just to now. They're just all the players, even to defensive ends, to defensive tackles even, are just so big, fast, and strong. Yeah. It's just unreal to be able to be that good of a running back as he was for so many years.
I think he would have been higher on the list, and he would have had higher stats if he wouldn't have had the fumbling problem that he really had all of his career.
He did, unfortunately.
Strongest hands in all the league, but couldn't hold on to the ball.
But you couldn't hold on.
So my number 5, before I say about my number 5, this has nothing to do with the person in himself. I don't care what he did outside. This is strictly about all-time running backs while he was in the league.
Talking about Bronco?
Yes. O.J. Simpson.
I can agree with you there. Dude was a beast.
Yeah, and if you wouldn't have had all that marring his life, he would have.
They'd probably arguably be when you argue with the top three greats, he would probably be up there as a top four for sure.
When you look at what he did at a time in Buffalo when they had absolutely nothing except for him, and the guy was, constantly putting out almost 2,000 yards or just over 2,000 yards every year.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. He's a beast, man.
So, my number 5.
Numero 5.
Is AP.
AP all day?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, he's my favorite running back of the past decade. Simply because he was the best running back of the past decade.
Yeah.
There's really nobody that's come close. I mean, the only one that's come close consistently, obviously Christian McCaffrey may break that precedent because obviously starting from last year, the dude just went off. But only one that I've seen come close consistently year to year is Zeke.
Yeah.
Zeke, he's not putting up 2,000-yard seasons, but he usually gets at least 13, 14, 1,500 yards each season.
I'm interested in seeing how Zeke would do without the best offensive line in the league.
Yeah, we saw just how good all the other running backs did with your DeMarco Murrays of the world. Darren McFadden went to Dallas and dominated for a little bit. It's just they made running backs so good, but AP was just a beast, man.
Yeah.
And he was another one that actually basically dominated my fantasy year for me when I had him and Calvin Johnson in the same season. That was fun.
AP is also dominating right now, getting over 1,000 yards each season with the Redskins. You don't hear about it a lot because it's the Redskins.
Dominating with the Redskins at the age of what, 35, 34? After he's torn his ACL how many times? And
let me equivalent that for you too in dog years, which is the same thing, and not to call running backs dogs. Just you have to follow me. Running backs on average is about 3 years in the league. That's their average.
Yeah,
that's overall average. So in dog years, he's like 140.
Pretty much.
Running back years, he's 140.
Pretty much, because consistently the average age of a running back when they retire, or at least when they start to decline, which they usually decline rapidly, is about 30 or 31. So to play and to be able to get 1,000-yard season at 34 is pretty much unheard of.
Yeah, so true.
But that's my number 5. Are we going on to my number 4?
Numero 4.
Probably should have been the most dominant running back of all time. And you love him. My man, Bo.
Okay.
I'm putting Bo up there. He was, when he actually played, was the most dominant running back of all time. But he never got to show just how dominant he could be. Simply because he didn't have a very long career at all.
I hate to do this to you. I'm not going to do a B and A, but I'm going to take somebody off because I forgot somebody.
Oh, you son of a gun.
Yeah. I'll go over that in a minute.
All right. Well, yeah. Bo Jackson, probably greatest two-sport athlete of all time.
Yeah.
But you wish as big, strong, and fast as he was.
Stupid Tampa Bay.
But you just wish the type of athlete that he was, you just wish you could have saw more of him play in the NFL because he would have been probably the best running back of all time if he would have had a full career.
Absolutely. So before I go on to my number 4, to tell you who I'm taking and putting in the spot of Emmitt Smith at number 10.
Yes.
Is the guy that when Bo Jackson came in, just pushed him to the side, but he's also Hall of Famer Marcus Allen.
I'll give that to you.
Missed him.
I'll give that to you. Yeah, for sure.
Cannot believe I missed him. I'm about as upset as that as Roger Craig not being in the Hall of Fame. But anyway, Marcus Allen, not only did his owner and coach at the time not want him there, he excelled. When Bo Jackson came in, he took his role as fullback.
Yeah.
And excelled.
Yeah.
Then he went to the Chiefs and played like a young guy. And excelled.
Yeah. Everywhere he went, he was the man.
So my number 4, jumping up from 10-4.
Yes.
Is the greatest show on turf.
Okay.
He made the greatest show on turf.
Okay.
The guy was so great. Imagine what let's put this in perspective for a second. There would have been no New England dynasty, especially the first half of it, if Marshall was with Peyton and Marvin Harrison for the full part of his career. in Indianapolis.
Yeah, that is very true.
Boy, I tell you what, I look. Most teams would kick themselves in the butt after that, but he just set the and look, Louisiana guy.
Gotta love him for that.
Gotta love him for that. Hated that he played in the division against us and just embarrassed our defensive players left and right. But he perfected 1,000.
He did. That's why I said it. He perfected what was the precedent.
He perfected what should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. So, but before we go on to the top three.
Yes.
The top three running backs of all time are pretty much, you can't really say, it's all opinion, obviously. This whole list is opinion. But the top three running backs are the top three that are always consistently talked about as the top three running backs of all time. Really, we both have our 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, Ricky Williams, Deuce McAllister, and Reggie Bush.
Yeah, anyways. But pretty much with these three running backs, we have 1, 2, and 3, but it's pretty much 1A, 1B, and 1C.
Pierre Thomas.
Mike Bell.
Aaron Stecker.
Oh, we're going way back.
Darren Sproles.
Yes. All right, now get out of my face. Let's get on with this top three.
All right, so
who's your number 3?
My number 3, and I'll explain the reason why, is Jim Brown. The reason why he's at 3 for me is because...
So we're just going to go on with this. He's my number 3 as well.
That's right. And so the reason why he's my number 3 is, listen, at that time, and he's bigger than anybody else on the defensive side. They didn't have the big defensive guys that we have now.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're in Pee Wee football, and you have that one kid that's like,
bigger than
he's 10 years old, but he's like 6'3", 250 pounds. So you just give him the ball, let him run, and he can't be tackled.
No. And I'm not taking away from it. I'm just saying that's the reason why he's at our number 3.
And like we say, it's really mostly, once you get on this list, it's about who's greatest, but it's also mostly about favoritism as well.
Right. Absolutely.
But I have Jim Brown on there as well. I mean, he kind of, as far as setting the precedent for probably being the best in the league at being a running back, he kind of set that precedent because at the time, the stats that he put up in the 60s and 70s to have I think he had a 7-8 year career.
Yeah.
And to have over 10,000 yards rushing in that short of a span is just unheard of at that time.
He held the record forever too.
Yeah.
And so just think about it. The other part that, I mean, it makes it harder for you not to put him higher is that he had a really short career. So imagine what he would have done if he would have played a long career.
If he would have had a 10-year career like most running backs, the record would be untouchable.
Oh, man. Imagine if he had a quarterback.
Oh, God. Yeah.
There's no way you're breaking those records.
No, not at all.
That's like overcoming Barry Bonds' home run record.
Yeah.
It's not.
That's not happening anytime soon. It's amazing because talking about that, when you see Barry Bonds, I mean, those guys hit 50, 60 home runs in a season. Mm-hmm. You may see somebody break 40 nowadays. I guess that's just because steroids aren't there. But anyways, we'll get on to that in another segment.
So number 2.
I feel like we have the same top 2.
Let's say who's your number 2.
My number 2 is Sweetness.
Mine too.
That's what I thought.
Sweetness.
The light on the feet, just, you love to watch him run.
From Grambling?
You just love to watch him run. You did. The dude was an amazing running back.
He has some validity to be people's number 1 as well. And I understand it.
Like I said,
we didn't get to see all of his games when we were growing up. We only get to see highlights.
I was born like 10 years later. I didn't get to see all of him. I got to watch highlights.
Right.
But I didn't get to see him play. But like we say, these top 3 are all opinion.
Yeah.
He can be your greatest. That's cool, and we would agree wholeheartedly with you.
Some of the highlights where he's just Earl Campbell on guys, and he's not an Earl Campbell type guy.
Not at all, because the thing is, he didn't look. You saw how fast, agile he was, but he didn't look as strong as you thought he was. But when you tried to tackle him, good luck, because you weren't going to tackle him easily. He didn't go down easily at all.
No, he played with heart.
Yeah, for sure. He was a great all-around back.
And he could do everything. He could come out of the backfield, receive passes. He could throw the block when he needed to. He's a smart blocker.
For sure. For sure.
And look, dude could do everything. He even threw a couple touchdown passes.
Oh, yeah.
It was a shame that he didn't get a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dicka.
But on to our numero uno.
Justin Jefferson.
I feel like you were meaning Jordan Jefferson, but
Yeah.
best quarterback of all time, LSU.
The one time that I tried to throw out Jordan's name by accident.
You throw out the actual good Jefferson.
Yeah.
Good job.
And every time I try to say Justin Jefferson, I
You say Jordan. Yeah, that's
Thank
how
you,
it rolls.
commentators.
But anyways, number one, probably best college running back of all time.
Yes.
And to us, the best NFL running back of all time.
Yeah.
My man, Barry.
Little guy. Nobody can cut on a dime like him.
Nobody can spin like him. Nobody can create space like him. The dude was...
Everybody else had a way better offensive line than him.
He had the worst offensive line at the time. He was running for his life every time and still found a way to get yards.
You know how we talk about Brett Favre because Brett Favre had all the touchdown passes, but he also had all the interceptions?
Yes.
Barry led the league with the most
negative runs
as well.
Yes, he did.
But it wasn't because he was Reggie Bush in it.
It's because he was trying to create room for himself to be able to run because he had a terrible offensive line.
Terrible.
And a terrible offense. He didn't have much of an offense. They had two good wide receivers.
Herman Moore.
They had Herman Moore and...
Perriman?
I think it was, but they had two good wide receivers. They never really had a quarterback. Never had an offensive line. They had an average defense at best.
Wheeled them to the playoffs when they made it to the playoffs.
They
had horrible coaches, man.
Every year they made it to playoffs, it was simply Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
He was the show.
That was offense, too.
Yeah.
Everybody knew he was getting the ball.
But you couldn't stop it.
You couldn't stop him. Even when you thought you had him stop, for like 50 yards, 40 yards, 30 yards in the first half, he'd come out in the second half and get up to 200 yards.
Exactly, because that was Barry.
Look at the quarterbacks he had, too. Andre Ware, Scott Mitchell.
Rodney Pete.
So
Jeez. It's just with what he was given and how much he did, and actually the short-lived career, not really shorter than like a Jim Brown or Gale Sayers, but a shorter career than he should have had because he showed respect for his idol, Walter Payton, because he didn't want to break his record. Thanks, Emmett.
Thanks. Yeah.
Jerk.
Thanks.
But
that's another reason why you're so low and off the list.
That's our number one.
Yeah, that's our top 10. Let me just go through some of this real quick. Some of the greatest football running back names of all time.
Yeah.
Of course, you have like Bo Jackson, but you also have like the Juice.
Yes.
O.J. Simpson. You have LT, of course.
Yes.
You have the Bus.
Yes.
You have Beast Mode.
Yes.
You have TD.
Yes.
I mean, you just get great names when you're running back, and you do great things.
You usually do.
Yeah.
It's always the running back, though.
Deservingly so.
Yes, very much so.
There was something else I was going to say, dude. Every time at the end of the podcast, there's something I'm going to say, and I can't remember what it was.
It's cool.
That's cool. So next week, we're going on to
wide receivers.
Top 10 wide receivers of all time.
But as usual, go look us up. You know where to find us. You heard me at the beginning of the podcast.
Be watching for the YouTube.
Be watching for the YouTube. And thank you to Ben Sound for our track. But other than that, this is the Right Cut Live.
Ricky Williams is the greatest running back of all time.
We'll check y'all later.
See you next week, boys and girls.